Okay, let's unpack this. Bella Swan's 18th birthday in the Twilight Saga new moon. 18, supposed to be a milestone, right?
Definitely balloons, cake, the usual celebration stuff.
But then, almost out of nowhere, this tiny paper cut just throws everything into chaos. Jasper's reaction.
Yeah, that near loss of control.
It's such a stark reminder, isn't it? How fragile her situation is, how even the smallest things are, well, potentially lethal in their world.
That paper cut, it seems so minor, but it worked incredibly well as a plot device. It just shatters any illusion of normalcy they might have had.
Right.
It really highlights the constant underlying tension of Bella, a human, living among vampires. What do you think the author really wanted to convey with that specific trigger?
That's a really good question. It feels like a sudden jolt, pulls you right out of the birthday sweetness and bam, back to the danger.
Yeah.
And it's that incident specifically that pushes Edward to make that devastating decision to leave.
Which brings us neatly to our source today.
Exactly. So we're diving into the Hal Leonard Corporation's compilation of music from the Twilight Saga New Moon, and we're using Bookie's summary of the narrative as our guide.
Music, huh? An interesting angle.
It might seem a bit odd at first, yeah. But think about how a score can just amplify emotion, Even though our summary doesn't give us the specific musical cues, the chapter breakdowns trace Bella's emotional journey so clearly.
That makes sense. Music taps right into feelings.
So looking at Bookie's summary, what parts do you think the music would hit hardest? Even just imagining it. Bella's isolation after Edward leaves must be a big one, musically.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that initial heartbreak is just profound. And it starts with such sweetness, doesn't it? Edward's gift, that CD of lullabies he composed just for her. So personal.
Really tender.
And then, boom, the rug is pulled out. Edward leaves, convinced he's protecting her. But he doesn't just leave. He tells her she's not good for him, essentially. Imagine hearing that. The irony is just brutal. His attempt to protect her causes this immense suffering. Bookie's summary calls her world gray and lifeless. That description, it really tracks with descriptions of acute grief, doesn't it? That emotional flattening.
Totally. The color just drains out of her world. And you can almost hear the shift in the imagined music, right? From those gentle lullabies to something hollow, empty.
Mm-hmm. Reflecting her internal state perfectly.
It's from that low point, that absolute despair, that a new connection starts to form, unexpectedly.
Right. Her friendship with Jacob Black, it becomes this pivotal force, as the summary puts it, in helping her cope.
Yeah, Jacob. He's like this sudden burst of warmth of sun in her gray world. And the motorcycle project. It's not just about fixing bikes, is it?
No, it's more than that. It's about finding something to do, a shared focus, some semblance of normalcy when everything else feels broken. It's grounding.
He gives her a rhythm back, maybe. A detraction from the constant ache.
Definitely. But as they get closer, these little hints start popping up. Jacob isn't quite ordinary.
Yeah, those enigmatic occurrences, the summary calls them. These clues about his extraordinary nature. Bella starts noticing things she can't explain.
He gets moody, withdrawn, grows incredibly fast. She starts to worry about him, naturally.
And then the Kilut secrets start bubbling up, leading to that huge revelation. Jacob's a werewolf.
That reveal just completely changes the game, doesn't it? Introduces this whole other layer to the supernatural world she stumbled into.
Totally.
And it explains his weird behavior. We learn about the Kilut shapeshifters, their history, their duty to protect against vampires, specifically against Victoria, who's still out there.
Right, Victoria seeking revenge. And Jacob isn't alone. There's a whole pack led by Sam Yulee.
They have this structure, this shared mission, protecting their land, protecting people, which now includes protecting Bella. It's this hidden community operating right under everyone's noses.
It's fascinating. But let's talk about Bella's coping mechanisms, because they get pretty concerning.
Yeah, considering her mental state, the grief, her recklessness starts to make a grim kind of sense. She seems desperate to feel anything but that numbness.
Or specifically to feel Edward again. She finds out that danger, taking risks, triggers these hallucinations. Apparitions of him.
Hallucinations, yeah. Visions, maybe. His voice warning her.
So she starts actively seeking danger, just to get that connection, that echo of him, even though it's not real. It's driven by pure desperation.
That motorcycle accident is a prime example. She barely knows how to ride, crashes, gets hurt.
But she hears his voice for a second.
And according to the summary, that makes the risk seem worth it to her, which really shows how deep her dependency runs, how much she's willing to risk for just a flicker of him.
It's heartbreaking, really. Shows how lost she is. And it doesn't stop there. She takes up cliff diving.
Seriously escalating risk.
It's such a stark contrast to the monotony she feels otherwise. It's not even about the thrill, is it? It's purely about chasing that ghost of Edward.
It's a self-destructive pattern, definitely, driven by that intense grief and yearning. And it contrasts so sharply with the werewolves, their unity, their protective instincts. Maybe we should dig a bit deeper into Jacob's transformation.
Yeah, let's do that. So Bella sees these changes in Jacob. The moods, the anger, the sudden physical growth, the secrecy. She's worried, concerned for her friend.
Understandably.
And then boom, werewolf. The legends are real. It's not just stories. It's Jacob, someone she knows, cares about.
Exactly. The folklore becomes reality, and Jacob explains it's hereditary, right? Passed down specifically to fight vampires. That's their purpose.
It's different from the Cullens being vampires by choice. This is lineage duty.
Right, and Sam Uli, the alpha, he's central to this. He leads the pack, keeps them focused on their collective duty.
That sense of community, that shared purpose. It's such a contrast to Bella's own isolation.
And a major focus for them, as we mentioned, is Victoria. She's hunting Bella for revenge after James's death in the first book. So the pack becomes Bella's protectors, essentially, while Edward's gone. Adds another layer of complexity.
Definitely. But then, just as things seem to settle into this new, weird normal with Jacob and the werewolves, Alice shows up.
Yeah, Alice returns. And she brings really bad news.
Terrifying news, actually. She's had a vision.
Ooh.
Edward thinks Bella's dead because of the cliff diving incident. Misinterpreted.
Right. And because he thinks Bella's dead.
He's going to Volterra, Italy, to basically commit suicide by revealing himself to humans, which would force the Volturi to destroy him.
It's an act of utter despair. He believes his reason for existing is gone. It shows how much he loves her, but wow, it's drastic.
And the Volturi remind us who they are again.
They're like the ancient vampire government, the enforcers. They maintain secrecy above all else, exposing vampires to humans. That's the ultimate crime.
So Edward knows exactly what he's doing. He's provoking them deliberately.
Precisely. Which means Bella and Alice have this insane race against time. Get to Italy, find him, stop him before he steps into the sun.
The setting, too, the St. Marcus Day Festival. Crowds everywhere. Makes it even more chaotic and tense. Bella trying to push through all these people.
It's incredibly high stakes. The potential for mass exposure is huge.
And she makes it. Just barely. Steps out, shields him. The relief in that moment must be immense.
Huge. But of course, the Volturis see everything. They're apprehended.
And things get even more complicated. Arrow, the Volturi leader, he's fascinated by Bella, isn't he?
Yeah, intrigued because his power and Jane's power don't work on her. She's immune. He sees something unique, maybe even threatening in her.
Which leads to their ultimatum.
Right. Bella either has to become a vampire or they'll kill her to protect their secret. No pressure.
Just a casual life or death decision.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they negotiate their way out, for now, and the Cullens return to Forks. That must have been such a relief for Bella.
A huge relief. A return to some sense of safety, of belonging after all that fear and loneliness.
And Edward explains why he left again, the protection angle. But you see his own pain, his anguish from being away from her. It actually, oddly, strengthens their bond.
Their reconciliation is powerful. And it immediately brings the transformation issue back to the forefront.
Yeah, the big debate. Edward's still against it, worried about her soul, her losing her human life. But Bella, she's set on it. She wants eternity with him.
Which leads to that pretty unique family meeting.
A vote.
A vote. On whether Bella should be turned. It's kind of democratic in a vampire way.
And the majority vote yes. It shows how much they've come to accept her, see her as family. Plus, the ongoing threats from Victoria and the Volturi probably add some weight to that decision too, right? Like maybe being a vampire safer in the long run.
That's a good point. And then amidst all this, Edward proposes marriage.
He does, which adds another layer. Bella hesitates, though.
Yeah, not because she doesn't love him, but she's, like, fiercely independent, worried about traditional marriage, maybe losing herself. But the draw of forever with Edward wins out. Her commitment to becoming a vampire gets even stronger. Still, it's a massive choice. Leaving her human life, Charlie, Renee, it's huge.
And then there's Jacob. He loves her, and he hates the idea of her becoming a vampire.
Yeah.
That love triangle becomes incredibly intense.
It really does. She's forced to confront her feelings for both of them, to choose between this deep friendship and connection with Jacob and her all-consuming love for Edward.
And the Cullens vote again, reaffirming their support for her transformation. It shows their loyalty.
Absolutely. So by the end, Bella's made her choice. She's committed to Edward, ready to become a vampire, ready to face whatever wonders come next. It really sets the stage for everything that follows.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into New Moon, what are the big takeaways for you looking back?
Well, definitely the sheer depth of Bella's grief and how friendship unexpectedly helped her heal. Then there's the whole expansion of the supernatural world, the werewolves, their history, their conflict with vampires.
And the lengths people go to for love, right?
Mhm.
Both Bella's reckless actions and Edward's drastic plan. Plus, these enormous, life-altering decisions she has to make.
It really makes you think about the weight of those choices, doesn't it? Choosing to leave your whole human life behind. If you were in her shoes, what would you prioritize? It's a tough one.
It really is. And
Yeah.
thinking back to our source, the music compilation, it leaves you with an interesting thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of music would capture all that?
Mhm.
Bella's despair, the warmth of Jacob, the sheer menace of the Volturi.
That's a great question. Maybe listening to the actual film soundtrack after thinking about all this would give you a whole new appreciation for how the music shapes the emotional experience.
Good idea.
Mm.
So, if this conversation's got you thinking, maybe revisit New Moon, the book, the movie, listen to the score. Or, look up discussions about its themes. There's always more layers to peel back with this saga.